With TBHK and BSD derailing everything I knew about them with their latest chapters, I need to cover something else while I wait for updates. So, Natsume Yuujinchou theories. Today we are solving one of Natsume's greatest mysteries. Who is Natsume's grandfather? First, let's go over all the information we have on him. Chapter 59 is the first mention of a man Reiko liked. She says he is a human who comes to visit her often and treats her kindly, but probably lives in a different town. Also, apparently he likes manju a lot. The next info comes from chapter 73. While searching the house of Hakuzaki, an exorcist that recently passed away, Natsume runs into the old owner's Shiki. They say that Natsume seems familiar, having seen his face before somewhere. Natsume asks if they knew Reiko, but the Shiki says the person they met was a man. According to chapter 57, Reiko never married anyone, and Natsume's mother never met her father. Also, Natsume's mum had dark hair, not light hair like Reiko and Natsume, so she would have had to have gotten that from her father. And that's it. Technically speaking, we don't even know if any of this is about the men Reiko got with, but I'm just gonna assume it is and run with it. So from this, we can make a few assumptions. Natsume's grandfather was likely an exorcist or someone involved in the supernatural world. Exorcists tend to travel a lot for their job, which could be why he visited Reiko's hometown. It would also make sense as to why he was meeting with Hakuzaki, as he was known to be very reclusive, only focusing on his supernatural research. Humans tend to not leave a lasting impression on Ayakashi, so for the Shiki to remember him, he would have to have been quite strong or very unusual. Alright, theory time. Possibility 1, Yorishima. I don't know if you can really spoil Natsume, but this theory is about a character from manga chapter 80, which hasn't been adapted yet, but I think will probably be in season 7. I don't think it's major, but I'm going to put a spoiler warning here just in case. Only 7 chapters after the mention of a man that resembles Natsume, we are introduced to Yorishima. He's a retired exorcist living deep in isolation in the woods. He's regarded as being quite powerful, but is introverted and keeps to himself aside from contact with Notori and his friends from college. It's also rumored that he's half Ayakashi. What prompted me to think he might be Natsume's grandfather was his suspicious attitude throughout his first appearance. When he first meets Natsume, he pauses and says there's a strange air around him. He states it's because Natsume is strong, but to me it feels more like he was reminded of something. Notori asks Yorishima if he's ever heard of Reiko, to which he hesitates before replying no. Notori continues, asking him about the Book of Friends, but once again Yorishima pauses before saying he's never heard of it. As Notori and Natsume leave, we get this panel like he's thinking deeply about something. The way he hesitates before answering anything makes it pretty clear he knows about Reiko and the Book of Friends. He appears again in chapters 106 and 107. Natsume runs into him while he's going to visit the house of an old friend who passed away. The whole storyline is focused on family and children in particular, which is an interesting thing to associate a character who apparently has no family with. It's also here that we get a flashback to his college days, where he convinced his friend to ask out the girl he liked. His friend comments that it's unusual for him to get involved in others' dating lives. It's possible that this was triggered by his own experience. Say, meeting a girl he liked himself. The timeline is never confirmed, but it is possible for this to be around the time Reiko first met the man she talks about. For how he fits with what we know about Natsume's grandfather. He is an exorcist and a powerful one at that. It would not be unusual for him to visit Hakuzaki, and for the same reason he would also be memorable to Hakuzaki's Shiki. Also, Hakuzaki is actually mentioned in chapter 80. Notori says that the barriers around Yorishima's house are similar to the ones at Hakuzaki's. It's possible he learned the technique from him, and it makes sense that he would travel to different towns a lot. His family's estate is close to Natsume's town, only a short train ride away. If we assume that Natsume is his grandkid, I feel like Yorishima probably never knew about his kid. Despite being antisocial, he cares deeply for the friends he does have. I couldn't see him not being involved in his daughter's life if he was aware she existed. So here's a theory within a theory. He meets Reiko, they like each other, they do the devil's tango, and soon after whatever incident that affects his arm / makes him half Ayakashi happens. Out of fear of hurting Reiko, he isolates himself and refuses to see her. Reiko is upset about the only person who didn't treat her differently now abandoning her and forgets about him. Has child, done. Possibility 2, Madara. Why do I always get more delusional as the video goes on? The relationship between Reiko and Madara is still shrouded in mystery. Despite being from the area and clearly meeting her at some point, he never talks about his own experience with Reiko. We do know they spend a lot of time together as he is able to transform into her, which he can only do with someone he's taken a good look at. The clues start from the very first chapter. Madara is one of the only Ayakashi that was able to instantly recognize that Natsume isn't Reiko, suggesting he knew her very well. He also knows about the Book of Friends well enough to explain to Natsume exactly how to use it, which he would have had to have learned from Reiko. Chapter 57 is where the most evidence of him being romantically involved with Reiko comes from. The chapter follows Natsume trying to find out more information about his grandmother. What's interesting is that he has a dream of a woman gazing at someone. He says he didn't think it was Reiko because she wasn't in a school uniform, but it's obviously meant to be an older Reiko. Natsume seems to only have dreams about Reiko after returning a name or being close with an Ayakashi all day. But the thing is, the only not human he was with that day was Nyanko-sensei. So is this an unprompted vision, or is it one of Madara's memories? In the same chapter, after Natsume asks one of his relatives about Reiko but only gets told negative stuff, Nyanko seems upset for him and goes to say something to Natsume before getting cut off by Tanuma. It seemed like he was going to tell Natsume something about Reiko, but decided not to. How does this fit with the canon description of the man? Not well, but we can force it. He likes manju to start, and while he's not human, he's able to disguise himself as one. He himself stated he's able to turn into an old man, which we never see. And we know these disguises are able to fool those with a strong supernatural sense, as Misuzu was able to fool Natsume for a fair while. Meeting with an exorcist doesn't make any sense though. I feel like an Ayakashi would probably want to do the opposite. It does make a little more sense in terms of his relationship or lack of with Natsume's mother though. None of Natsume's family members ever met Reiko's partner because no one could see him. It's not 100% confirmed, but it seems like Natsume's mum wasn't able to see Ayakashi, so that could be the reason she never met him. This theory also ties in with the idea of Natsume not being fully human. He's able to drink medicine made for Ayakashi, he's able to naturally read Ayakashi writing, he has weird eyes, and seems somewhat impervious to damage. Is it even possible for a human to have a kid with an Ayakashi? Who knows? I'll be completely honest, I don't believe this one at all, but it seems to be the most popular among the fanbase. Possibility 3. You thought it couldn't get worse than Madara? What if Natsume's grandfather is Tanuma? Hear me out. The one thing that hasn't fit with any of the theories so far is Natsume's mother's dark hair. Who has dark hair? Tanuma. Done. I've solved it. No, but in chapter 57, which again is the chapter of Natsume looking for information about his grandmother, who is the person he runs into to console him? Tanuma. And what was Tanuma doing before running into him? Buying manju. That's way too specific. Natsume's mother died young, and Tanuma is often sick, having a weak constitution. He could have passed this down to his child. How would this even be possible? I don't think time travel would be impossible in Natsume. It hasn't been shown in the series, sure, but between all the powerful Ayakashi and forbidden exorcist spells, I'm sure you could manage it somehow. Throughout the series, Natsume is concerned about getting his friends hurt because of his involvement with the Ayakashi. A general rule of writing is that if something is brought up, it has to happen at some point. I don't think Tanuma has had any overly traumatic Ayakashi experiences yet. So what if that bad thing will be Tanuma getting pulled into the past? This actually fits pretty well with what we know about Natsume's grandfather too. If Tanuma got pulled into the past because of something Ayakashi related, of course he would go visit an exorcist, especially one focused on experimental research like Hakuzaki. Due to either his weird request or unusual energy, I'm sure he would also stand out to the Shiki. As for Reiko's description, he likes manju, he would travel a lot in order to find a way back to the future, and of course he would be kind to her. I mean, he was friends with Natsume. Someone claiming to see the supernatural, talking to nothing, and being closed off because people think they're weird wouldn't surprise him at all. Actually, I think he would want to be close to someone that reminds him of his best friend. The morality of becoming your best friend's grandfather is questionable at best, but a theory is a theory. Personally, I like theory 1 the best, but what do you guys think? Or is there someone I missed entirely? Let me know, and thank you for your time.